So you are looking to buy a laptop for programming, but you don't know what to look for in a programming laptop. Well, you are in the right place. In this video, I will be covering what you should look for when buying a laptop specifically for programming, including processor, RAM, storage, keyboard and trackpad, display, GPU, weight and size, battery, and operating system. Before we get into what to look for when buying a laptop for programming, let's talk about why you need a programming laptop even if you have a desktop. For those watching this video and you are not convinced to buy a laptop, firstly, if you are really into programming, then chances are you move around a lot, whether you're a student like me, a freelancer, or a remote worker. Having a laptop is essential because sometimes you're gonna have to sit in a coffee shop, a library, or even travel, and you'll want to get some coding done. That's why you need a laptop. With that said, let's get into what you should look for in a programming laptop. First, processor. A good processor is essential for programming because chances are you are not just coding in an IDE or a text editor. You have a lot other apps and browser tabs open as well, which can slow down the performance of your computer. You're gonna need something with multiple cores and a minimum of 2 GHz. The processor is not for the code itself, since the code is just a bunch of text, but for the laptop to run smoothly itself. The next is RAM, which is also essential for running tasks as each task takes a certain amount of space in the RAM. You should try to get a minimum of 8 GB, 16 GB standard, and 32 GB for high-end users. The third thing you should consider is storage. For this, there are two options, the SSD and the HDD. The SSD is what you should look for, which is the flash memory and the faster of the two. It is more expensive though. Luckily, this is where you can get away with something as low as 256 GB of storage, since you will be storing most of the stuff on the cloud. Next is the display, which is also essential as you will be looking at the screen for quite a long time. When looking for a display, you should look for a display that shows the most amount of code possible without needing to squint or scroll, as squinting can put a lot of strain in your eyes and scrolling can take up a lot of your time, especially when debugging, which you will be doing a lot. This is why a lot of times you see developers using vertical monitors. You should also look for a high resolution display. I would say a minimum of 1080p in order to see more code in small font. You'll also want something with a good keyboard that has great key travel and is preferably backlit, as you might need it when doing some late night coding, and also a great trackpad as it can sometimes be a hassle having to move around with a mouse. You should also consider a lightweight laptop that's easy to carry around, that has great battery life and a lot of ports with fast charging. Chances are if you are buying a laptop, you are not only using it for programming, you might also be using it for photo and video editing, 3D modeling and rendering, and even gaming. That's where you're gonna need a strong GPU. Here you're gonna need a minimum of 2 GB of VRAM for your laptop. Lastly, you will want to consider which operating system the laptop is running. This really comes down to personal preference. The two major ones are Mac OS and Windows, but there is a more developer-centric one, which is Linux. Both Mac OS and Linux are based on the Unix operating system, so they have a lot of similarities, but since Linux is open source, it's customizable and more flexible. Also, a lot of big servers which most likely you will be deploying to run on Linux. But with that said, working with Linux, it's not easy to work with, especially if you are just starting out. If you are going for iOS development, then Mac OS is your way, no question. But if you are going for .NET applications and Windows applications, then you should consider going with Windows. Also, since Mac OS is based on Unix and most servers run on Linux, it's definitely easier to develop and deploy from Mac OS to those servers. Plus, it's my personal favorite. But you can also buy a Windows laptop and install Linux for your software development, so you can use both Windows and Linux on it. But with all this in mind, the question arises, which is the best laptop to buy for programming? The answer is there is no best laptop for programming because no laptop is perfect, and what might suit you and your needs might not suit my needs. So with that in mind, here are some of my recommendations you should check out. Number 1, the M1 MacBook. Both Air and Pro are great, but just keep in mind that the Air are fanless. Number 2, the 2021 HP Spectre X360. Number 3, the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme. 4, Razer Blade 15. 5, MSI GS65 Stealth. 6, Asus ZenBook Pro Duo. 7, Huawei MateBook 13. You can check out all these laptops in the links down below. Hope this gives you some insights on which is the best programming laptop for you. If it did, smash that like button to let me know and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.